Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom has a fun new release that will put you in the mood for making fall cards. Here's a quick peek at all the products that are in the August 2026 release. As always, you can save by purchasing the full release bundle, and I will have links in the description box below. I'll start with the Woodland Stencil set. This is currently not available individually. This is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product. And one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time and while supplies last. There's a second stencil set this month. It's called Mushroom Stencil. Really cute designs, and there are two stencils in this set. One has the little cap for the mushroom and the other has the stems. Here's the perfect set for fall. It's called Pumpkin Mugs. So with this set, you can create a large mug and also two small mugs. The only difference on the small mugs, one has a handle on the right and the other has the handle on the left. There's also the little jack-o'-lantern face, so if you want to make it a Halloween mug, you have that option. There's not one, but two Gnome Friend die sets this month. The first one is Turkey. And of course, there's also the stamp set with the faces. This is turkey faces. So many fun expressions. And how cute, some of the faces even have eyelashes. So you have the option of either using the stamp faces or the dies that are included in the set. And I will show both examples on some of my cards later on in the video. I'm low on Thanksgiving cards that I'll be giving to retirement home residents, so I know I'll be using both of these sets quite a bit. The die set also includes a hat and a scarf, so you can dress up your turkey. To go with the new turkey friend, we do have a new stamp set. This one's called Gobble Squad, and there are coordinating outline dies. Lots of great sentiments that'll be perfect for Thanksgiving cards and others you could use throughout the year. Let me pull out the dies so you can see the actual size. Some of my favorite sentiments on this set: Never Skip Leg Day, Happy Gnomes Giving, Best Spuds Forever, Feast Mode Activated, and there are so many more. And now the other new Gnome Friend, say hello to the fox. And there is a fox faces stamp set as well with all those fun expressions. So just like the turkey, you have the option of either using the stamp face or the dies that are included on the set. So that's everything that's included in the August 2026 release. And since there are two Gnome Friends, Jaded Blossom has released their MDF pieces to go with the fox and the turkey. And both have the two different options, either the stand or the hang tag ring. For the turkey, there are two different options with the stand. One with the turkey sitting, doing the splits, the other with the turkey standing. Now you could use either of the legs on the hang tag ring version. Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces have always been super popular, but I'm betting the turkeys will be really popular this year. Just think about using them for name placements at the table for Thanksgiving dinner. I have several cards to share with you using some of the new products. For my first card design, I used the new Woodland Stencil set on some light pink cardstock. The ink color I used is Distress Oxide Saltwater Taffy. And when stenciling, I added the color darker in the center and gradually getting lighter toward the outside edge. I cut out this piece using Jaded Blossom's Card Matte Die. I also added a gold watercolor splatter. I'll layer this piece on some dark brown cardstock. And the brown cardstock layer is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. We'll put more adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Since the background does have that faux stitch detail, I want to make sure it lays nice and flat, so I did use 2 different adhesives. And I'll also place a large acrylic block on top and let that sit for several minutes. So while I'm waiting for that, I'll assemble the pumpkin mug, and I'm doing the largest size. But I decided to cut it out of the same orange cardstock color. I always try to use up some cardstock scraps before cutting into new sheets of cardstock. I started adding one of the little pumpkin slice pieces on the front, then I decided to put the little coffee piece down next. Now I'll add the other 4 sort of slices of the outside of the pumpkin. Each piece is completely different, but I still decided to keep them all together with a piece of mint tape. So after I have those pumpkin slices down, now I'll add the handle, and I cut this out from some brown cardstock. Making sure to line it up perfectly with the background so you don't see any of the orange cardstock showing. The pumpkin mug die set includes 2 different sizes of leaves, and I'll be adding both of those toward the top of the handle of the mug. I'm also adding this cute little acorn, and this image is from Jaded Blossom's Build a Booth Fall add-on set. Since I'm making more of a fall pumpkin mug instead of Halloween, I felt it needed a little extra, and I think the acorn works perfectly. So I'll add the large leaf down first, and I'm only putting glue behind the back end of the leaf, not the tip. That way I can curl up the end for a little more dimension. Then I'll add the smaller leaf above it. Next, I'll add the acorn right on top of the 2 leaves. So there's the pumpkin mug all assembled. Before I add it on the card, it's time to assemble the fox. I've already stamped the face, and I use a white gel pen to fill in the areas on the eye. I used white cardstock for this background piece, and this will all be covered up. My fox will be a light tan color. I'll add the body down, then the head. Now this head piece with the ears will also be covered up, but I decided to use the same light tan cardstock color. Next, I'll glue down the head with the stamped face. This piece does not have the ears. Now the fox has 2 little areas on the chest, the belly area, and then this fluffy fur. Since my fox will be behind the mug, I don't need to worry about the bottom half of the fox's body. So I'm only adding that little fluff piece. I'll add the individual ears, and there are little pieces for that fluff area at the tip of the ears, which is super cute. I used a darker brown cardstock for those areas. And then light pink cardstock for the inside of the ears. I do recommend adhering that tip fur area of the ears down first before the inside area of the ears. And that tip piece is different. The outside edge is slightly curved, just like the ear. Now I did stamp the face, but I decided the fox needed a shiny nose. So from the die set, I used the nose image and cut it out from black glossy cardstock. I'll put glue on the nose area and adhere it in place. And I'm trying to make sure it's nice and straight and follows the design of the stamped nose. So there's the fox mostly assembled. I'll be putting it behind the pumpkin mug. I started off by putting some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back, and then I was going to add the fox. But I decided to add foam dimension behind the mug and not the fox. So after I remove the release paper, I will put some foam dimension behind the mug, and I'm using a 1mm foam. And I did that part off screen. So now I'll hold the fox up to the pumpkin mug, putting it behind, and you won't see any of the legs, just that top portion of the fox's body. Then I'll flip it over, put glue on the back of the fox, and add the fox with the pumpkin mug on the center of the card. Now the fox still needs its front paws, and I know it's a little strange, the top of the mug you see the liquid portion, but I decided I would still put their paws right on the edge. On the back of the paws, I'm adding some foam, and this is a 2mm foam. I did need to cut it in half to fit behind those narrow areas of the paws. I'll remove the release paper, then attach both of the paws. My daughter saw this card and was wondering why I put a fox inside a mug of coffee, but I think it looks like the fox is behind the mug. And that's one of the reasons I added the foam behind the mug and not the fox, giving it that little bit of dimensional separation. Since this is a fall card, I decided to use a fall sentiment, and I pulled out an older one from Jaded Blossom, but it is still available. It's called Happy Fall Gnomie. I have the stamp and coordinating die set, and I selected the sentiment Hello Autumn. Put glue on the back and adhere the sentiment at the bottom of the mug. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen, adding just a few highlights on the acorn and the inside of the fox's ears. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 2, I am using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from MFT. It's sketch number 6. The pattern paper I'm using for this card is actually Christmas paper. It's from Paper Rose's Joy to the World collection, although this sheet really doesn't have anything Christmassy on it. I love this blue sort of watercolor looking background. And the backside of the paper has a stripe design with blues, sort of a rust orange and yellow. I'll layer both of the pieces on some dark blue cardstock. Then I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the strip going across the card, I'm using some light blue cardstock, but before adhering that down, I'll add a stitch circle die cut. This circle is a little bit larger than what's indicated on the card sketch. The diameter is 3 1/4 of an inch. And I will have this circle going off the edge of the right side just a tiny bit. And to cut that edge, I simply held it up to the card, flipped it over, and with a pair of scissors, I trimmed off the overhang. Before adhering the circle down, I am adding a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side of the stripe panel. That way the circle stays at the same level. Now I'll put glue on the back of the circle and adhere it in place. Next I'll add the banner that goes across the card. I'll first cut a fishtail on the right side, and since the left side is going over all these other layers, I will need to add some dimension. On the very left side, I'm using a 1mm foam square. And then the area that sits on top of the stripe paper, I'm adding a piece of cardstock. I'll remove the release paper from the foam, put glue behind the rest of this strip and adhere it down. And about half of it will sit at the bottom of the circle die cut. So this card will feature the new turkey image. I already have all the pieces cut out, and this one also has the stamped face. I colored in the areas on the face using Copic markers and also a white gel pen. Now the turkey image also has that outline piece, but I'm not going to use it. Whenever the images have the wings or something behind them, I prefer to skip that one piece. So I'll start with the body. This background piece of the body will also be covered up completely. For the bird's chest area, I used a dark brown cardstock, and then the head and neck, this is a light tan color. We'll add both of those on the background body and head piece. Now I'll work on the feathers. This piece also has the outline piece that will be covered up completely. I cut it out of the same yellow color I'm using for the very bottom feathers. I decided to go with 4 different feather colors, 2 shades of yellow and 2 shades of orange, starting with the yellow at the bottom and moving up to the darkest orange at the top. And you will only see a tiny bit of those top dark orange feathers. The individual feather pieces line up perfectly with the background. I find it helpful to start at the bottom and then work my way up. I'll assemble one side of feathers and then work on the other side. I have just 2 more feathers to attach, the lighter orange and then the darker orange. So there are the feathers all assembled. I'll put a little bit of glue in the very center and then place the body on top. And if you want to make sure to get the accurate placement, that background piece is helpful. So I'll lay the feathers on that background piece and then place the body on top. And while I'm waiting for that glue to dry completely, I'll secure those 2 pieces together with some clear double-sided adhesive tape. This turkey will have the sitting legs or the splits. I used orange cardstock for the legs, and then there are individual pieces for just the feet. And I like using those individual pieces. It gives the turkey more of a finished look. I'll place the body on top, trying to get it evenly spaced between the feet. And then I'll hold that in place with more of the tape. I did need to peel up one of the pieces of tape so I could add another one at the bottom holding the legs in place. So there's the turkey mostly assembled. The turkey will be all dressed up in the cute hat and scarf that are on the new turkey set. I used 2 different shades of blue cardstock for the hat. And then there's this adorable sunflower. I used a light yellow cardstock for the sunflower, dark blue for the center, and it's designed to put the flower between the 2 layers of the hat. Although you could also just put it on the front. For the scarf, I'm using dark blue cardstock. There are 3 individual pieces and then that background piece. I'll add the shortest part of the scarf down first, then the longer one in front, and then finally the individual piece that goes around the neck. So after adhering this last piece down, the scarf is assembled. Now before adding this scarf on the turkey, I need to attach the wings, or sort of the hands for the turkey. And I used a lighter brown cardstock color than the body feather areas. I'll attach the wing on the left side first, and then the one on the right side. And at the very top of the wing, there's this little area to make it look like it goes around the body. Once those are in place, I'll put glue on the back of the scarf and adhere it down. It's already looking so cute. Now I'll add the hat. Put a little bit of glue at the very bottom of the hat and attach the hat on top of her head. While I'm waiting for that glue to dry, I'll secure it with more of the tape. So there's the turkey all assembled. Isn't she adorable? For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Talk turkey to me. I stamped it on some light yellow cardstock and used a dark blue ink color, Juniper Mist from Catherine Pooler. I will be popping up the turkey using more of the 1mm foam squares. I grabbed the large and small. And I need to cut some super tiny pieces to fit behind the turkey's feet. Then I'll fill in these other areas with the small foam squares. Now I'll remove the release paper and add the turkey inside the stitched oval die cut. Her feet and the bottom of her body will sit on that light blue banner. I'll also pop up the sentiment using more of the 1mm foam. Grab the large and small foam squares again. I'll remove the release paper and add the sentiment on the left side of the turkey. A tiny bit of the sentiment will sit on the circle die cut, just that right side. Using Jaded Blossom's Whimsical banner die set, I cut out the two smaller size banner. This larger one, I used the same dark blue cardstock for the background, and the smaller size banner, this is the same light blue I use for that banner going across the card. I'll layer both of them together and put them in the upper right-hand corner. For embellishments, I'm using Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in gold moondust. I'll put 2 underneath the sentiment on the left side and 1 in the upper right-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I used a different face stamp. There are so many cute expressions, I wanted to use as many as possible. For my next card design, this sketch is from Cards TV. This is sketch number 38. This is a really fun sketch if you want to feature lots of different pretty pattern papers. And for this card, the pattern paper I'm using is from Bella Boulevard. It's the One Fall Day collection. It's an older collection, but I think there are a few single sheets still available. And for products that are still available, I'll either have them linked in the description box below or over on my coordinating blog post. Since YouTube does limit how many characters I can add in the description box, I make sure everything is listed on my website. I layered all 4 pattern paper pieces on dark brown cardstock, and for the cardstock layers, I added an additional 1/8 of an inch. So it just has that narrow border around the pattern paper. It adds a lot of contrast and really helps those different papers stand out from each other. I selected 3 tone-on-tone pattern papers and then 1 busy design. That way they're not competing with each other too much. The very background is a tone-on-tone with some leaves. That larger rectangle is basically the same design as the background, it's just colorful. Then I have this tone-on-tone pink piece on the left side, and then the image panel is the green tone-on-tone polka dot. Before adding the pink and the green pieces down, I did put a scrap cardstock piece behind it, just in the area where it goes off of the other pattern paper and cardstock layers. That way everything stays at the same level. Inside the image panel, I'm adding one of the fox images, and I've already assembled it. I did pop it up using more of the foam dimension. After removing the release paper, I'll add the fox inside the green rectangle. For a sentiment, I'll be adding the word hello, and this is from Jaded Blossom's Happy Hello stamp set, and I cut it out using their sentiment strip die set. I use brown ink on white cardstock, and I'm adding the sentiment on the right side of the fox. So about half of the sentiment goes off the edge of this green paper. In those areas, I either put some foam or cardstock layers. I love the Whimsical banner die set, so I cut out another one, this time from the same dark brown cardstock, and I'll adhere it in the upper left-hand corner of the pink pattern paper panel. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in gold. I'll put 2 on the left side and 3 around the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The other fox features another stamp face, and I gave that fox only 3 of the white socks just for something different. For my next card design, I used the new mushroom stencil set on craft cardstock. The 2 ink colors are Distress Oxide, Rusty Hinge, and Tea Dye. This panel is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I'll layer it on some dark brown cardstock from my stash that has this canvas linen texture on one side. I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base. I was trying to decide if this stencil design is direction specific, but I don't think it is since those mushrooms go all different directions. Next, I grabbed a white gel pen, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like the look, so I'm first trying it out in the very center of the card, since I know this area will be covered up. I'm adding 3 small dots on the cap of the mushrooms. And while I'm trying to decide if I like that, I'll set the card aside for now and start assembling more of the die cuts. This card will feature another fox image. This time I used a brighter orange cardstock color for the fox. It also has the stamped face. I usually try to do one of the images with the die cut face and then some with the stamp face, but I did forget to do any of the foxes with the die cut face. I created a small scene for the fox. I used Jaded Blossoms, stitched hexagon, and their Scallop hexagon die sets. At the very bottom, I added this little grassy piece. I first cut it out using the same hexagon die, and then that grass border is from the Spring Scenic die set. Behind the hexagon, I'm adding a Whimsical banner. Now this is one of the shorter banners, so I cut out 2 of them. I want the top to peek out the top of the hexagon, and then that little banner piece, the fishtail, will come out of the bottom. The Whimsical banner die set does have a longer banner, but I liked this size since it's a little bit wider. And no one has to know that it's actually 2 pieces instead of 1. So once I have the hexagon assembled with the banner, I know exactly which mushrooms are going to show, since I decided I would add those 3 little dots on every single mushroom that's visible on the front of the card. And I did speed up this portion quite a bit while I'm adding those teeny tiny dots. Sometimes with white gel pens, they don't flow as nicely, so I'll scribble them off on some scrap cardstock. I decided to use the back of the hexagon in banners since you won't see that area anyway. So I think I have all the dots filled in. I'll hold the hexagon with the banner over the card, just making sure. I may have missed 1 or 2, but I think for the most part, I got all those dots added. I'm also trying to be careful not to smudge any of the white gel pen. Until it dries completely, sometimes you can accidentally smudge it. So now I'll add the fox on the card, and I am putting foam dimension behind the fox's head, just not behind the body. Although once I added the fox, I decided I would put some foam dimension behind just the tip of the tail. So after adhering it down and before that glue dried completely, I will lift up the tail and sneak in a small foam square. For a sentiment, I'll be adding the word hello. This time I'm stamping it directly onto the card, so I am using my mini Misty. Don't want to mess up the stamping after assembling this entire card. I'll add the word hello on the right side of the fox. I'm just making sure the word is on there nice and straight. I love using general sentiments, especially the word hello, so you can probably tell I've used this stamp quite a few times. And the ink color I'm using is dark chocolate. It's from scrapbook.com. It's one of my favorite dark brown ink colors, and it works great for sentiments. I will ink the sentiment several times to get a nice solid impression. This little fox has such a sweet face. I love the variety that Jaded Blossom always includes on their face stamp sets. For a final finishing touch, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs, this time the mini hearts in gold. I'll add 3 small hearts above the sentiment on the right side. And I pulled out the white gel pen again, and I'm just adding those little tiny dots inside the fox's ears. So there is my finished card, and this time I only made 1 using this design. And this little fox only has 3 white socks. I kept 1 of the paws that darker orange color. I do have a few more cards to share with you, although I did not record the process. They all feature the adorable turkey. For this first card, the pattern paper is from Doodlebug Designs Farmhouse Collection. On the left side, I added 3 of the Whimsical banners, and I couldn't resist the sentiment, never skip leg day. The small stars are from Jaded Blossom's Embellishment Cluster Die set. Here's another one featuring a turkey. This one's holding an ear of corn. The pattern paper is also from Doodlebug's Farmhouse Collection, and I added the sentiment Feast Mode Activated. The corn image is from Jaded Blossom's Gnome set, the Farm Add-ons. And I also added 3 of the small stars. Those are the Embellishment Cluster Die set. And then the final 2 cards feature the same turkeys. One's holding a fall leaf and the other the ear of corn. I added the sentiment Gobble Squad. The pattern paper I use for the cards is from Reminisce, the Let's Get Cozy collection. The large banner in the background is from the Whimsical banner die set. I do have 3 MDF pieces to share with you. 2 of them are turkeys, one with the standing base, the other with a hang tag ring. And then finally, I did 1 fox. And I used this little angry, grumpy face because my daughter said I had to. She thought it was the cutest face on the entire set. To add that little decoration on the top of the base, Jaded Blossom does have a die set. It's their MDF standing base die set. Now here's another look at the 14 cards and projects I made using Jaded Blossom's August 2026 release. I love this release. There are 2 new gnome friends, the turkey and a fox. If you're ready to make fall cards, this release is perfect. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Jaded Blossom never disappoints with their amazing releases. I look forward to them every single month. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.